closing. So the recording is on now. Bismillah.
Inshallah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim. Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma, Rabbi zidni ilma. Assalamu alaikum everyone and Eid Mubarak. Hope you all are doing well, inshallah. And welcome to our discussion of the remedy for the sick. So this is going to be the 25th flash, message for the sick, page 271, the 9th remedy. So today will be our third week as we continue on discussing and studying the 9th remedy. Before we move on into continuing the 9th remedy, I would briefly go over what we discussed in the last class. So what we understand is that the appointed hour is determined. Death will come at any given time, regardless of anything, condition, situation, etc. So we can clearly draw the conclusion that neither health nor sickness is the cause of death. I am not aware of, nor do I have that knowledge of when my appointed hour is set for. Now, I know for a fact that I have been given amazing qualities by my Creator, but there are certain things that I am not aware of, nor do I hold any knowledge about those. So let's go over the example we gave last week about the two drivers, one being a safe driver following the rules and regulations, while the other one being an unsafe driver trying to reach his destination in no time, therefore not following the rules. Now, with both of them, with both drivers, we do see some commonalities, such as in order to get this car get to the road, they both will need to follow a certain order. And so what both of them do, every little step is like an order that you follow in order to get, the car up and running and hit the road. So they both will take the key, put it into the designated slot and start the ignition on. For us, usually all these things are just like, we take it for granted, but basically they both will do the same thing identically. And then from there, they will put the gear into either a reverse or drive mode, whichever one they may require. And now with this, they both have their car running and they will hit the road. Once they hit the road, they are unaware of what they may encounter. So even with the driver who is following the rules, he does not have any knowledge of what may happen on the road. It could be anything. For instance, there may be heavy traffic, there may be an accident ahead of him, or weather condition or anything, or a tree may fall, or perhaps a deer may cross. It can be anything. While on the other hand, the driver, which is not following the rules, he may not encounter anything along the way and may reach his destination as he had hoped for. So the point here is that neither one of them is aware of what they may face on the road. If we look at both drivers just as it is, we may say, oh, the one not driving safely, definitely he'll get in trouble or something may happen to him. While the one driving safely, he will have no problem at all. He will get to his destination safe and sound. But really, if you really think about it, both of them follow a certain order to have the car running. And after that, neither one of them is aware of anything that they may encounter down the line. So, and with this, really, the way I see it also, that we have duas that we say prior to doing certain things, prior to traveling, and we really take refuge in the one who has given existence to us, and we acknowledge the fact that he is all-knowing. Even with, if we take an example of even with terminal diseases, a doctor may tell someone that you only have 3 months to live. And now with science too, so science have studied this disease in depth, and they have found out the order in which this disease is decaying a person's body. But even with this, they are not able to tell the exact day, time, hour, minutes, or even second of the appointed hour. And these are the unknown things. And a lot of times the patient goes on and survives for even a lot longer than what he has been told. So, I mean, we can really see here that we can conclude that the hour is the hour is determined by someone who is all knowledgeable. And by saying this, I was thinking on the like not on the opposite side, but I was also thinking, if you really think about it, that if I was aware of everything that was to happen to me, every single thing, every moment, I really think that I will be living with an attitude of being self-sufficient. And with even the things that we're not aware of, these events are a reminder to us that there is someone who is in control of everything. He is in knowledge of everything. So he is the all-knowing. And even with the appointed hour of death, we know that everyone has to face death. And we do not know when it will hit us. And I see this as a reminder that there is someone who is in full control of everything. He is all-knowing. He is the all-knowledgeable one. So with this, we will continue with the ninth remedy. But before that, I know we do have some questions that we had left unaddressed. And before we go over the question, I think we should reread the second paragraph from it, starting from secondly. Prior to that, let me also check if anybody has any questions, comments, or want to add anything, please feel free. I'll check the chat box and see if anybody wants to say anything. Okay, perfect. And I see Mariam and Ryan are here too. If Mariam, Ryan, if you would please go ahead and read this for us, if you're able to.
So we're gonna start reading the secondly.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Secondly, death is not terrifying as it appears to be superficially. Through the light afforded by the All-Wise Qur'an in many parts of the Risale-i Nur, we have proved in completely certain and indubitable fashion that for believers, death is to be discharged from the burdensome duties of life. For them, it is a rest from worship, which forms the instruction and training in the arena of trial of this world. It is also a means of their rejoining friends and relations, 99 out of 100 of whom have already departed for the next world. It is a means of entering their true homeland and eternal abodes of happiness. It is also an invitation to the gardens of paradise from the dungeon of this world. And it is the time they receive their wage from the munificence of the most compassionate Creator in return for service rendered to Him. Since the reality of death is this, it should be regarded not as terrifying, but on the contrary, as an introduction to mercy and happiness. Moreover, some of the people of God have feared death, not out of terror at it, but because they hoped to gain additional merit by performing more good works with the duties of life continuing. Yes, for the people of belief, death is the door to divine mercy, while for the people of misguidance, it is the pit of everlasting darkness.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for such a beautiful reading. So, as I was listening, I was really thinking, what does the author means when he says rest from worship? To me, worship is a mean to express my gratitude to my source of existence and thus recognizing my reality. So, I mean, when you're in that state, definitely you feel a sense of ease, happiness, relaxation. So what does it really mean to rest from worship? Wouldn't really I want to be in that state? I mean, almost all the time. I'm gonna see, I would love to hear from anyone in the audience. If you have any comments, please, any takeaway from that, if you can share that, that would be great. Great, I see Faria. Please go ahead.
Can you repeat the question again, please?
Sure. What does it mean for them when it says, the phrase that says for them, it is a rest from worship? So when somebody dies, he goes into a state that puts him into rest from worship. So my question was, worship being a mean for you to express, for me to express my gratitude, and thus recognizing my reality and being in that state, it really puts me in a state of ease, relaxation, and happiness, comfort. And why would that be a rest from worship? I hope I was clear.
Yes, thank you, Asfa. That helps clarify the question much better, as in, so pretty much everything is connecting to our existence right now, where I'm interacting with the universe. And so when I graduate from here, then it may seem that, oh, it will be like a more restful place. So why is the author mentioning that? So for that, just graduation from this universe will be a place of rest from worship. Great question. So I think it goes on with how do we define worship then, in terms of, I think we've given the analogy in the past of students in being in a school. So you know that, oh man, I have to go these many years, take these many courses, but obviously to move on to the next level, there's certain homeworks, assignments I need to do to get to a certain, level or stage in the classroom. So I think perhaps it's just a whole approach that we may take on in terms of just within the interaction, we try to see meaning, we try to extract something that makes more sense to us. So, but when we find the meaning, when things makes more sense to us, you're like, oh man, this universe is just like, it's not it. I was lost. I was in a delusion thinking that this is it, but there's more to it. There is, that's why we have this education system. We gotta go, climb, high school, college, and until I graduate, so I can actually practice the desire of what my human soul actually yearns for, which is really seeking eternal satisfaction and pleasure in one's existence. So Asfa, I have a friend here who wants to add something. Is it okay? Or you want that he makes his comment, or you want to say something first?
Sure, please go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum as well. Eid Mubarak to all. So based on our discussion, I really love the comments everybody's making. So the rest from worship, and I think, we discussed that this morning as well in our another discussion about, this is what we are doing, following the order and submitting to the will of our Lord. If we understand that this universe is not just here randomly, somebody has made it willfully, with love and compassion and mercy. So I am here also in this world, given existence by that being who must, as Aswa's examples were very nice in terms of realizing who is the all knowledgeable one, all providing one, who is setting up the stage, everything being arranged for my existence to really, live in this world. So that, following that, order in the universe, and as you also mentioned about the things we don't know in the order. So all these, tying it to how the other comment from Faria also becoming an education for us to understand. And what is this education for? For our spirit, our soul, the human side of us, which is looking for this understanding, for the meaning, what this universe brings. So the worship is basically my conclusions, my recognition, and submitting to who this will of my Lord, who is the one who has set up all this universe, my existence, which is so fitting that everything is here and everything is just being provided, and I can deduce and conclude about all these different qualities that I am observing. If I am eating something, I realize that, who can be the taste giver, who is the health giver, who is the nutrition giver. If I'm running, who is arranging all these, the way my physical body, who gave me that body, who is giving me the ability, who is giving me the strength, the health again. So all that is the one, that constitutes what worship is, to connect my being, my existence, to see that, yeah, the owner is the one who is the existence giver and is introducing me to his qualities that I really enjoy, I love. And that becomes my worship, going, communicating back to that, my owner, my source of existence. So this is the opportunity we have while we are living in this world. And of course, death is, as I don't know, there's the discussion that is going on Mondays about chapter Abasa, and we touched upon the aspect of what death is. It's your body, human body goes back to its origin, and the spirit has to go back to its origin as well. So that would be my addition. Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, Jazakallah khair. Wonderful comments, both Asim and Faria. Asim very clearly explained explanation of worship. As I'm still thinking, something though came into my mind. So even with rest from worship, I know it's, me working on recognizing my source of existence in this world with death. So once I reach death, I would no longer need that recognition. I mean, I would not longer need to know, I guess. I'm not sure if my question is clear, but this question just aroused within me, thinking that after death, I will be all knowledgeable about everything. Like I would know who my source of existence is, and I'm not sure if anyone can help me understand this, but if my question is not too clear, please let me know. I'm going to pause to see if anybody has any comments to that. Thank you. Okay, perfect. So Hamim just says, yes, my spirit will be drained. Can you please elaborate a little bit on that? Thank you.
I think Brother Ali has his hand up, so maybe we can have him speak, inshallah.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Ali. Thank you.
As an extension to what has been said so far, I wanted to understand this matter of resting from worship as if it's a tiring business that we are doing and we want to rest from it. I think that is a misunderstanding of worship. If we really realize that worship means utilizing our human qualities in order to find out the source which can satisfy their expectations, all human qualities. For example, I love beauty, beautiful things. I love even more beautiful, more beautiful, more beautiful. And in the world, I can continue to search for the more beautiful ones, but when I am continuing to search for the more beautiful ones to get them and satisfy my need, I realize that as I got all those things, either they get old, they lose their beauty, or I get old and I don't get any more enjoyment of this transient, beautiful things. And my expectation is to get the infinite satisfaction of the need for my sense of beauty, desiring the sense of beauty, or the sense of beauty which desires the never-ending, eternal beauty. The more I realize, the more I learn that my senses are going to be satisfied by a one which creates every beautiful object in the world. And when I become aware that, I love these beautiful things, so that I will make a research to understand where they come from, where their beauty comes from, to understand it. When I understand it, what happens now? I learn that these beautiful things are coming from a source of beauty which in and of itself is absolute beautiful being. So what I want now, I want to reach that one, because I did my research. When I found out the research, when I found out at the end of the research, I am very happy that I have to reach out to this source of beauty, absolute source of beauty. And now I want to get the result. It looks like a student in the school, which we love this example of school because the universe is a school. It's a perfect example. While I am learning, when I learn, I am happy. If I don't learn, I am unhappy while I am in the school. So ubudiyya means fulfilling the duty. In the example, it represents the student who learns. As he learns, he is happy. He feels satisfied, but he wants to practice it. Well, he looks forward to the graduation so that he will practice it, because learning is pleasurable, but at the same time, practicing it even more pleasurable. So I am looking forward to practicing what I have learned. So this example simply clarifies that worshipful attitude in this world, it means finding out the place of security for my expectations is pleasurable. But after I realize that I have found the place of security where I can take refuge with in order to satisfy my expectations, I become even more eager to reach that end and experience that end, practice that end. That's why death is a graduation from the process of training in this world. So, of course, the student wants to learn, but for what? In order to practice it. The person who studies the universe, investigates the universe in order to find out its source of existence, so that he will trust, this person will trust his expectations in the result he got out of his studying the universe. This is the worship and the result. Of course, we want to have the opportunity to practice our results, our learnings. That is why it is there must be a transformation from learning status to practicing status. In this sense, I understood that it is a rest from worship, because the sentence doesn't say only this. Sentence says, for believers, death is to be discharged from the burdensome duties of life. It means death is to be graduated from the burdensome duties of learning. Although it was pleasurable, but that's it. I learned now. I want to get it. So continues for them, for the believers, but it is for the believers. Believers means who reached the right conclusion. For the believers, it is a rest from worship, which forms the instruction and training in the arena of trial of this world. It means which forms the instruction and training in the school of education of this world. I transferred the language to our example. In this context, it makes sense. But if we see that, if we read this sentence, it's a rest from worship, as worship is a burden. I think worship is not a burden. For example, the students, when they learn something, they really, I remember my times of school, when I learned something, I got excited. It was really, really a pleasing moment when I learned it. But I want to graduate as well. That is also a human need. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Brother Ali. Clearly explained everything. I do see that I, as a human being, is a needy person. I'm always in need of something, anything, and throughout the way, I need to practice, to strive to recognize with any situation or anything that's happening around me or with me, who my source of existence is, or with any situation, who is the creator of the situation. So yes, for a student, definitely studying on a regular basis, but of course, at one point, we all want to graduate for sure. And that was pretty clear. Thank you so much. Let's see if we have any comments, or anybody wants to add anything to this or has any questions before we move forward. Let me just check here the chat box. H. Beza. Okay, go ahead, H. Beza. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Just a small comment on my end. Not necessarily adding anything new, but I was also thinking about how, rest from worship, which forms the instruction and training in the arena of trial of this world. So I guess instead, my initial take on rest from worship would be as if, as Brother Ali said, implying as if worship is this, task that I have to do that's burdensome. But I guess another way of also understanding it, in addition to what's been said, could be, since I am in a position like a student that is undergoing some sort of education or training, it only makes sense that there be some sort of end point that this training looks to, as opposed to learning for the sake of learning, but rather training and growing. When we go to school, we do it to get a diploma and graduate, to get a job, etc. It looking to some sort of purpose that is greater than the initial effort or task itself. So rest from worship, which forms the instruction and training in the arena of trial of this world, I guess also in the sense that if I understand worship to be a sort of training for myself, that since it aligns with my human expectations and qualities, it is also a source of pleasure. But at the same time, there needs to be some sort of a form of graduation for me from this training as well. So the rest from it, meaning a sort of, I guess like that, the text itself says that, talks about death being a discharge from the burdensome duties of life, and then says rest from worship. But I guess also a means of just graduating from this initial sphere of place of training for myself. So I think maybe it can also be understood as a sort of graduation from the aspect from undergoing that sort of training, if that kind of makes sense.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, pretty much it does make sense. I was also thinking along the same lines. Of course, you're in training, and with that, you have completed that training. That's how I understand it. You have completed that training, and that's it. You don't need, after that, you don't need any training. So whatever training you have to do, you have this world to do it. And then that is the graduation point. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for your comment. Is there anyone who wants to add anything or You can put anything in the chat box. Let me just double check. Dr. Ali, please go ahead.
I would like to go further a little bit down, 4 or 5 line down. It is also death. The subject is death. It is also an invitation to the gardens of paradise from the dungeon of this world. But what do you mean by dungeon of this world? Now, I thought about it. One example came to my mind, but it is a little bit weird example. So I don't know who is going to take up this example on his or her own personal life. But God forbid, a mother has lost his, and mothers love their daughters, so her daughter. A mother has lost her daughter. Investigating, what happened, who was there, what was the climate like, and also traffic and everything, working. And then she followed the traces of the evidences, and then realized that the child, the daughter, is safe, in a safe place, somewhere in another city. That's a made-up story from my side. Okay, what do you think this person looks like, this mother looks like? First, worrying, and trying to understand, to clarify all these unknown matters in front of her, because she is yearning to get the baby back or daughter back. But at the end, she realized that, oh, she is in another state, taken care of by safe people. Everything is happy there. She is happy there. Do you think this mother will even more struggle to go and get the daughter, be with the daughter? Or, okay, she is safe now, let me go and rest at home and sleep. Which one do you think this mother will prefer? Anybody who answer?
Anyone who wants to answer, please. Here we have
Hamim says, rest and sleep. No, I would like to get my daughter. So no, I would like to get my daughter. I want to be with her, because I worked hard to find out where she is, and I found out where she is now. What is the next step now for me? To be with her. That's what I understand. I may be wrong, but that's what my feelings tell me. That means the period of searching is unknown. Or in the absence of the daughter, I am searching for the daughter. It is like I am in dungeon. I couldn't find out exactly what I want. When I found out, the next step is, I want to be with her. Now, in this world, we are left with physical elements here, but our human desires try to find out what is beyond these physical elements. What do they refer to? Which kind of signs they are presenting to me? in order to find out what I want. Exactly, as a human being, I want eternal security for my existence, for my expectations. Whatever I expect, for my love, for my concerns, for my desires for justice. For example, if I am subject to any kind of injustice, I want justice to be reassured in this world. But most of the time they don't. When I look for it, the way I discover that it is going to be possible, my desires are going to be fulfilled, it becomes more and more possible for me as more and more I investigate and get in contact with the security of my expectations, my desires, human desires. Once you realize that, I found it, now the previous period, for example, when you are with your daughter in the example, you forgot all the work you did at back in order to find out where your daughter was. When you found it, when you are with it, compared with the previous one, to me, to my human feelings, the previous period looks like a dungeon, and being together with my daughter looks like, as the text says now, Garden of Paradise. Everything is perfect now. I hug my daughter. From there, I understand that it is a comparison between what we conclude from this universe, what this universe presents to me in its physical form. Of course, if I don't decipher, if I don't really take care of the signs that this physical world presents to me, the meaning that they carry to me, then I don't really benefit from this world that is not the believer's example now. For example, when you read another example, when you read a book, you are reading, you are struggling, you are learning more and more and more and more.
Brother Ali, we can't hear you. You're learning more and more.
He is the solution to my own questions and concerns. I want to be with him. But of course, while I am studying, is a status compared with the situation that I am with the author now, it looks like a dungeon. Although while I was learning, I was searching, as my hopes were growing, it was pleasurable, but of course, to be with my daughter or to be with the author and together, being together with the results of my works, it is really a paradise. That is what I understand paradise in terms of this world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Ali. As I'm still trying to reflect, from what you said, what I am understanding is in this world, like you gave the example of the mother losing her daughter, and so a dungeon could be moments of despair that we may feel in this world. So it could be several moments of that, and within this world we can find, like he says, the author says, gardens of paradise. So this is what I am understanding from it. If anybody wants to add anything, or if I am wrong, please, somebody go ahead and correct me on that. Let me check the box here. Fariha, go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you, Farika. Okay, so Brother Ali's example, I think, he's making the comparison between what that gardens of paradise is and the dungeon of this world. So death being the invitation to connecting with your source of existence. So where one can practice whatever, the connection that they've established in terms of getting to know who that source of existence is. And of course, I'll put my words how I understood it also. So dungeon of this world is not something, doesn't sound pleasing. Like, no, in this world also, you don't want to be like dungeons is, I think, in the medieval times, kind of now to this day and age is maybe prisons or something. You don't want to be constricted in a particular environment. It's, with, surrounded by walls and not really being free and open air, which is what the gardens of paradise is. So this is the feeling that we get as the human beings. We want to be kind of free and open, and in an open environment we are more comfortable in that kind of situation. And things in the prison or in the surrounded by walls or in a dungeon kind of environment, it's, yeah, you are kind of living, but it's very restrictive, right? So we are looking and we want that openness, we want that eternal side to our being. So that is kind of that opportunity. It provides that, hey, all that, while once you are there in the gardens of paradise, everything else looks like, oh yeah, all that learning, whatever you were doing kind of seems to be that, although I was looking in search for that eternal aspect to things, I got the conclusions, I got the flavor, but now, I am there in the open area in the garden, which, with that eternal aspect, experiencing that eternity. Whereas in the world of dungeon, it's, whatever effort I make, I say, okay, yeah, there must be a world outside it, but it's there. There's a wall there that blocks it, and it's constrictive. That's how at least I understood it. But of course, I don't know. Anybody else wants to add?
Thank you so much, Asim. Yes, I am thinking along those lines, and with what Brother Ali said, I am understanding it as, yes, I am actually in search of eternal existence, eternal happiness, eternal satisfaction, eternal everything. And yes, knowing this, that nothing in this world can give me any eternal quality. So knowing that, I am really looking forward to that invitation, meaning that I will, yes, where I will get after death, it will bring me the eternal existence, eternal happiness, eternal satisfaction, eternal everything. Now, alhamdulillah, I am getting there. In the meanwhile, if anybody wants to add anything or has any questions or comments, please feel free to put it in the chat box or simply raise your hand. I'm gonna quickly look in the chat box. Okay, great. Faria, go ahead, please.
Just to add on a very practical example, I know Mariam and Rayan are here as well. When we're in school, especially college, I remember personally my last year, you got the whole deal of it, freshman year, you're trying to get the hang of it, what it's like, what's college life like. Sophomore, you're like, oh man, okay, this is getting rough. Junior year, you're like all relaxed. You're like, oh, I got this. I know how to do it. Just, submit these assignments. Make sure you're raising your hands. The teacher knows your last name, so you get your A. I was like, I got this. Senior, I was like, oh man, this is it. The same thing over and over again. I'm attending those classes. He knows me. The professor knows me. I'll get my, now what, So it's just within myself. I just wanted to get out ASAP so I can just be in the real world and practice what I'm learning. So I think similarly, it's within the human journey here where, like you take step-by-step approaches to everything, and we are all researching or, just to get to know the source of our existence and what actually this existence points to. And the more we reflect, the more meanings we get, the better we understand. And the more we want to learn, the more we want to understand. And then you say, okay, so this is great. And then so you do conclude the whole life after graduation, as in that's really where the real deal, where I get to practice everything, because clearly the body itself, like within this universe, my spirit itself is like endless in its capacity, but it may seem confined or restricted to the conditions of this universe. And that's where it may seem like a prison, just like everybody alluded to, where, you feel like you're just bound within those walls. So you just want to get out. So just like a student, you just want to, explore the world, just get out of it, after getting your, being equipped or getting your education. And now you want to practice it. There's this need of the spirit. That's it. I remember with all the internships, I'm like, this is it. I got it. Let's just now jump in. So I think that's just how the human journey is. So just wanted to share that in.
Great. Thank you so much, Faria. That was a wonderful example. And there's a message in the chat box. Sarah says, great analogy, Faria. Yes, absolutely. Well, the dungeon of this world, it really makes me look forward into really going to the eternal life as I really go deeper into thinking of this. Anybody has any comments or questions? Otherwise, I will go to something that really caught my attention. It was the third paragraph. Is it the third? Yes. The third paragraph that says, some of the people of God have feared death. So some of the people of God have feared death, not out of terror at it, but because they hope to gain additional merit by performing more good works with the duties of life continuing. Well, so people of God, and they also fear death, but to gain additional merit, I mean, if you think about it, of course, God-fearing meaning they're living this world, they're acknowledging their source of existence, and yet they fear death just in hope to gain additional merit. I wonder if you're already getting really amazing reward from your creator, what could be an additional merit be in reference to? If anybody has any comment on this, please feel free to share any. H. Bezak, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I as Hamima says, good question. I don't know if I can exactly answer the question, but just to share some of my initial thoughts. I think first, this is something I struggled with, but I think realigning what merit means, because the problem in this sentence may occur if I think about my relationship with life and my existence, and hence my creator, in sort of a transactional manner where I do XYZ, which are good merits, and then I get a reward for it. So I think a potential issue could be, how do I understand this phrasing of gaining additional merit by performing more good works with the duties of life continuing? And just some initial thoughts, but I do think it has to do with somehow with sincerity, insofar as in following the order of the universe, in performing the duties of life, in my day-to-day life as well, and not as separate, but as a part of that also, transforming normal duties into a means of worship for myself as well, by becoming aware of, or cultivating that sense of awareness of what a particular experience means to me. So again, just making it a little bit more practical instead of abstract. With the student example, always knowing that whatever assignment or experience or class I'm in a class, even if I may just be vacuuming the house. Every experience is something that is drawing me closer, or is a means of training for myself. So I think if I were able to look at my life with that sort of proper lens, then I think I would be able to enjoy or get a sort of pleasure from acting in alignment with my creational command, and hence hoping to gain more, what it says, additional merit, because it's like saying, a scissor enjoys cutting paper or something, like a knife likes cutting bread or something. Whatever exists being used for the purpose it is meant to be used for, its purpose in existence. So if I can apply that same sort of thing to myself, then I should be able to want to want to live longer, so that I can perform more and more in duties or worship. And I use worship very broadly here, but not just the practical and physical aspect of worship as we may traditionally understand it, but turning anything into worship, even vacuuming the house, for example, and thereby attaining a sort of pleasure even from that act by what it looks to. So that's kind of my initial take on it. Now, practically speaking, how much can I do this? It's very difficult. I'm having trouble with this, but those are just some initial thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beza. As you were talking, I'm still trying to understand. It's not yet clear to me, but as you were saying, what came to my mind is, again, as we take the example of the student, like the brother Ali said, we're all students of this universe, and how I was seeing it for a student, of course, extra merit, of course, you have students that graduate, they just graduate, they get a degree. There are certain students, they graduate with honors. But yes, they have to work, I guess, extra hard. Yeah, but well, with students example, practical example, I'm kind of understanding it. But here, when when the author says people of God, I know that they're really all there. They're doing what they have to do. I mean, they're recognizing, they're acknowledging everything. But yet, for the additional merit, they're fearing death. Because to me, I see it, death, of course, like it said, it's an invitation to the gardens of paradise. So they're already getting that, being people of God. But what extra would they get besides that? If anyone has any comments or can help with that, I see 2 hands up, Sarah and Mariam and Rayan. I'm not too sure who went first. Whoever one thinks they had their hand raised first, please go ahead.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. What came to my mind, the question brought to me this feeling of urgency, actually. So I'm grateful for your question, for while moderating. I apologize in advance for the background noise. What came to my mind is we have a finite amount of time in this world, in this physical existence, to learn and discover this source of existence, which we understand to be beyond or infinite. And we only have a finite amount of time to learn this wonderful opportunity of discovering something of such magnanimous presence. And once we die, the opportunity is finished to learn. And you, like Dr. Ali always says, like you get your degree based on what you learn. So your question, just for the first time, I feel like a sense of urgency, like this is very serious actually, because we only have a little bit of time to discover something so beyond. And then once you're done, you're done. Like you can't go back and learn more. And you get your degree based on what you did and how many, like Khadija Beza just said, like how many opportunities you were given, which are endless. How many of those did we actually use to learn the message? The extra merit, if the reward is the presence of this being, and based on what we learn, there's like an unveiling of this presence, then the degrees are infinite, really, based on how much we know about this being. So the more that we discover or unveil this being, the greater the quote unquote merit, the reward, that consciousness of this being is the reward, and that comes in levels based on how much we've discovered about this being. So it just, I don't, as you asked the question, I really felt like, wow, this is something to take very serious while we're here, because we have a finite amount of time to discover something really great. And the more time that we use, so it makes sense that the one who knows or who has a taste of this being that we call God just eagerly wants more and more and more, and would hate for the opportunity to end for that more, that greater awareness or knowing of this being, which would end at death.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing. Really, when you were talking about levels, yes, I was also thinking, are there levels after that? Are there levels in paradise? I mean, I've heard about it, but to really conclude that there are levels. I mean, I was just trying to relate the merit with, additional merit, and then I guess additional levels of paradise at the higher. I mean, the more you do, the higher, at a higher level you would be. But as I'm still thinking, I know Mariam and Rayan, you had your hand up. Please go ahead.
So I wanted to give a comment about the sentence that was highlighted. So I'm gonna read the sentence first so I can tell you what I understand from it. So it says, some of the people of God have feared death, not out of terror, but because they hope to gain additional merit by performing more good works with the duties of life continuing. So I understand, like, people who follow God, they follow his path, they fear death not out of terror, but like but they hope to gain additional like honor. I just understand that merit means honor. So like meaning kind of like be a good person, follow God's path, and yeah, stay on his path, and like saying by performing more good works, like continuing on with a good job, being merciful, being nice to others, helping others, and means like with the duties of life continuing, like continue being a nice person, following God's paths, while your life is continuing.
So I wanted to say basically kind of what Mariam said, but like people, like some of the people of God have feared death. Okay, so like not out of terror at it, but because they hope to gain additional merit by performing more good works with the duties of life continuing. So it's not out of terror. They just like they appreciate like death because you go to the afterlife. But I don't know if like some people appreciate death or not. Like they just like it. It's like an honor, like Mariam said. And also like you have to fear God because he can do it. He's the one that does anything. He's the one that gives lives and takes lives. And also, like Mariam said, if you follow God's path, there may be several problems. And yeah, so like they just want to gain additional honor by like doing good deeds and like with good duties and having sincerity.
And I just want to continue on what Rand said, like out of terror, meaning like you're scared. If you're scared about like if you're gonna get like a punishment or not, like it's scary, and meaning like if you go off of God's path, it's like how Rand said, like sincerity is related to that, and like out of terror, meaning that you are scared of going off of God's path into the evil path, meaning like in the last discussion, I think, or yeah, I said about that like the evil path is more convincing in a way, like the praying example that I said about watching your show, like it's relating to this because you could that's what you enjoy by watching your show instead of doing something that like praying, and praying is being in God's path, and like the evil path is like technology just takes your mind, and it's yeah, that's what I basically want to say.
Yeah, so terror, like again, terror, like it's not terror like, oh, it's so scared, like Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't even know what people are doing these days, like what they mean terror. But like terror and like you're scared because anything can happen. Like like God can do anything, and it's not like terror like, oh, like what I just said. So it's terror and meaning like you're just scared. It's just a certain fear that you have, but it's not like really big. It's just a fear you have.
It's like I think it's like human feelings that like related, like when how Dr. Lee mentioned the example was about like school. You feel happy that you learned something and that you got a good score on it.
Oh, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, both Mariam and Rand, for your comment. I know, Brother Ali, you had your hand up. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Can we liken this to the student to a student who learns and becomes aware that there are even more to learn, and rather than preferring the graduation from the college level, wants to do master degree, PhD degree as well, because he loves what he is learning, becoming more and more secure in his knowledge. So those people may have an attitude that, look, there are more to learn before graduation. So I don't want to be graduated. I have to carry on doing my license, further studies, doing a master degree, doing a PhD degree, something like one way of understanding of really this sentence is performing more good works with the duties of life continuing. So that is one example. The other one example also, which looks like my example, while I am a student at the school of this world, I didn't really learn much. I wasted my time a lot. So I know that the graduation days are coming closer. I wish that the graduation days will be later, postponed, delayed, so that I will really make up my mistakes, my earlier days that I wasted. For many reasons, people of believers, they believe that this universe is going to come to an end. My life, our life is going to come to an end, but the result is going to be with the Creator as much as I realized who He is. Some of them wants to further their education. Some of them wants to make up what they have missed before. That is why a believer who believes that death is not total annihilation, totally going out of existence, they believe this, but still they may worry. They may worry that they have not performed their duties perfectly. They want to make up. But for unbelievers, their fear of death is real, because if a person doesn't believe in the Creator, for this person, the end of life is end of everything, end of their existence. They will go into non-existence totally. Of course, we cannot compare the fear or trying to run away from death for the believers and for the unbelievers. They are just opposite directions. As for the degrees of paradise, like the degrees in this world, everybody is living in the same world, but some people are enjoying life more than the others or less than the others. But we are living in the same world. Some people, for example, may have a good taste so that they understand and appreciate the value of the delicious food they enjoy better than those people who have not trained their taste of, their taste. So they don't really appreciate as much, although they may be eating the same food. So some people may be really hungry and really enjoy the food. Some people may not need that much. They may feel not very hungry. They don't really appreciate the taste of the food as much as the one who needs it. Depending on the degree of realization in this world, I think, and it must be justice to experience the result of our gaining in this world according to the level of our gaining. That makes the degrees in paradise. But we should not think about anything in terms of the next creation, because we cannot say there are different layers of existence in the paradise. I don't know, because it's a completely different creation. Sorry?
So funny.
Sorry, Brother Ali. Oh, are you done or did you just get muted?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much. I mean, that makes it a lot clearer for me. Yes. I myself, just because that additional merit kind of really caught my attention. Although I just like you said, we should not really worry about the layers of paradise. I mean, that shouldn't be something we really need to worry about. But then as we're living in this world, the degree of the way we are really, acknowledging and recognizing the source of existence is really what we should work on in a constant basis, every single moment, step. So thank you so much. Is there anyone else who has any questions, comments? You can put in the chat box or raise your hand. I'm gonna quickly check the chat box here. Okay. Okay, great. All clear. We can move to the last paragraph, is it? I mean, if you can pull up the last paragraph for me, please.
I actually have a question before we go on.
I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Go ahead, Faria.
I just put it up now. So okay, so just the paragraph we went over, the one before that, I'm just curious about it. I'm going to highlight. It says, and it is the time they receive their wage from the munificence of the most compassionate creator in return for service rendered to him. It threw me off at first. Service. I'm like, wait a minute, what am I? I'm being served here, basically. Things are serving me here. What am I doing? As in, what am I serving? Because I don't know, maybe there's like something with the translation, but at the end of the day, even if I'm trying to, get educated, and we said, doing more research and, studying, staying in school, right? It's basically for my own benefit, because I wanna, make more sense of things. I wanna learn more. So basically I am being served, and I'm serving my humanity, the human side, which is thirsty. So what can the author possibly mean by in return for service rendered to him? I don't know, just curious to know what's your take on that.
Thank you, Faria, for your question. As I'm reflecting, is there anyone who would like to answer Faria's question, or any takeaway you may have from this? The way I understood is with the whole sentence. It says, and it is the time they receive their wage from their munificence of the most compassionate creator in return of service rendered to him. So how I see service in return of service, talking about the student, of course, he will, if he works, he studies hard and trying to attain the grades that he wants, and he's aiming to get a diploma and graduate with honors, he's gonna work extra hard. So he is doing what he needs to do in order to get that type of diploma, the one with honors. And so this is what he will gain in the end. And if we talk about it vertically, I see the more, the more worship we do, knowing that worship is, acknowledging, recognizing who the actual source is that is bringing everything into being, that is even bringing my existence into being, and constantly working on that, not falling off track at any second, is I feel that's the reward you would get. I feel like that's what the author is referring to service as, the worship you would do, and you will get the wage, the reward you would get would be eternal. Anybody has any comment on that? I'm not sure if my response was clear, but if anybody wants to add anything, Dr. Ali, please go ahead.
Yes, there is a slight translation problem here. The original text doesn't say in return for service rendered to him. There is no to him, but there is a word in the original text which says in return for service. He rendered, the person rendered. It means what I understood from it, yes, of course, for example, the professor teaches me something, I learn from him, but when I learn, I don't serve him. I serve myself. That's correct. That's why the student don't serve this, to the student, to the teacher. But on the other hand, what is the service? What does the service represent here? Of course, when I work, for example, a student learns and learns and learns, what does he expect now? Although learning was for his own benefit, but I want to get the degree as well. Certificate which will allow me to practice in my further life. So as if the language is used by the administrator saying that because of your great work, you are rewarded with a degree, such and such degree. There are different degrees, of course, but doesn't matter. You are rewarded, we say. But in fact, learning itself was the reward. But still, we want to get it, we want to receive the opportunity so that I will practice it. I will put into real life conditions for me, so I will get the taste of the result of my previous work, previous realization while I am in this world, or previous preferences I made in this world, which was an option for me to choose to learn. Also, I was given the option to choose not to learn. Now, when I used to choose to learn, the school rewards me. and I want to get this result. Of course, who doesn't want to go to paradise? But deserving the paradise, deserving the grace of God is different from desiring to go to paradise. So I don't deserve, I'm sure of it, but I desire to get the result of my good intention at least my recognition of just failure, saying that I failed, please forgive me. I want this result. It is a translation problem, but at the same time, we have to understand what service means in this context. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Brother Ali. Just wanted to make sure, Faria, did your question get answered? You can raise your, you can say yes in the comment box or.
Yes, thank you.
Great. So anybody else has any questions, any comments? Let me check the time. We are right about time. Should we move on to the last paragraph of the 9th remedy, or should I just go ahead and do the closing? Let's see.
I think let's finish this one up today, inshallah.
Okay, can you please pull up the page, Hamim, for me? Thank you. Okay, so with the last paragraph, yes, for the people of belief, death is the door to divine mercy, while for the people of misguidance, it is the pit of everlasting darkness. So it's really like, divine mercy for people of belief. Death is the door to divine mercy. And for the people of misguidance, it's the pit of everlasting darkness. So, of course, you are given, the way I see it is, for when you are given people of belief, the point here is divine mercy. What does this really mean, the divine mercy? So when you are constantly in constant acknowledgement and realizing who your source of existence is, and thus recognizing your reality, you are heading towards, or you are being bestowed with divine mercy. This is how I am understanding it. Anyone wants to make a comment on that? Faria, please go ahead.
Thank you. So basically, just to add on to what you said, and it's pretty much a very beautiful conclusion presented by the author here, mashallah, with what we've discussed thus far. So if I think that death is the end to my existence, then it's, then there's really nothing going on here. I'm just here living from birth to death without any, I don't know what's the purpose of me being in the universe, or like just with the school analogy, the student is just there hanging out, not even looking into how many credits he has, how many credits does he need more to graduate. So just in there, but at the end of the day, he knows that after a certain number of years, the school is going to kick him out. So if that's the kind of worldview I have, then yeah, it's a sad state. It's everlasting darkness where really it's like no hope for anything. So I'm just, I don't know, wandering around. I know I'm gonna die, but so I think we can all paint the picture for ourselves, as opposed to when I know that every moment is being brought into existence, my different stages where I went from middle school to high school, college, married life, corporate life, whatever, you name it, and grandparents, what so on, right? So then you realize that each stage is a door to something. It's unraveling something for me in terms of, who am I and what the source of my existence is. So where I'm, every step of the way, like you said, that I'm, worshiping, as in I'm acknowledging and recognizing the source of my existence. So one layer better, as in with different experiences and life conditions. I shouldn't say one layer better, but it's just for me, as the student, the trainee, things make more sense to me. So that's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Death is no longer a scary thing. So basically, death is no longer a scary thing.
Yeah.
Because it's reconnecting my being to where I come from. Inshallah. Thank you very much for that.
And so that's why it becomes divine mercy. You're like, okay, there's light upon light, inshallah. Thanks.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Faria and Asim, both, and beautifully concluded, Faria. And I do see Mariam and Ryan. Please go ahead.
So I would like to add on from the sentence, yes, for the people of belief, death is the door to divine mercy, while for the people of misguidance, it is the pit of everlasting darkness. So I just wanted to give a comment about what I think of it, and I understand from it as, so the people who are on God's path, once again, the believers, they death to them is a reward because they're going to their creator's paradise. They're able to meet, not meet their creator, in meaning, yeah, they just go to the creator's paradise. And for the people the people who follow the evil path or misguidance, they go into they get a punishment, a severe punishment, meaning the everlasting darkness. You live through that punishment your whole life, and yeah.
You have recognition and acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much for your last comment. Alhamdulillah, we did finish the 9th remedy. And if anybody has any additional comment or question, please, here's your time. And Dr. Ali, please go ahead.
While we are living in this world, a person is living in this world, in his eye, in his expectations, death is a pit of everlasting darkness. It means after death, I don't know, I will disappear. This fear, this horrible expectation always stays with this person. So while he is living in this world, in his expectation, death is nothing but the pit of everlasting, infinite darkness. But for the people of belief, they believe that the universe has a conscious creator. They will understand that the death is a door to reach the divine mercy, means absolute mercy is going to embrace me, receive me, embrace me, and treat me according to his mercy. Divine means absolute, not of this world. So while we are living in this world, the text is analyzing the understanding of death by a person who doesn't believe in the creator and believes that universe is as it is, that's it. There is no creator, there is no purpose in its existence, it happened by itself, accidentally like this. For them, they cannot really have any hope of any sort of existence, any sort of being after death. The others, as for the believers, I think you explained all this. For the believers, before I die, if I am a believer, hopefully I am, I believe. So death is for me, I am going back to my source of existence. Whoever brought me in this world, I acknowledge him and I attach my being to him. And death means a beginning of another type of act of creation for me. So I am expected to be so happy that death is going to happen to me so that I will go to the divine mercy. While I am living in this world, it has its effect according to my belief or denial. Thank you, and thank you for the beautiful class or discussion here and moderation as well. Thank you. I'm very pleased to be here with you.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Brother Ali. So you pretty much concluded this 9th remedy. If anyone still has any questions and comments, let me just double check quickly the chat box. Otherwise, inshallah, I will go ahead and do the closing. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Surah Fatiha.